Well, welcome back to the Spiritual Lounge with Courtney
And Nina.
and Oliver.
Of course.
Welcome to our New Year's special.
Yeah.
And today we're going to talk about kind of like goal setting versus really embodying and living in, your dream life in an aspect.
Yeah. And how to do it in a way that's in alignment and isn't going to cause you to go,
way too ham and something.
And then crash and burn and then go back to old habits.
And I think that's such a big thing. Like in the new year, a lot of people do that. It's like, I want this other life. I want to be super fit. I want to do this. And then they go, I'm going to go to the gym every day for the first 2 months. And then 2 months and one day you're like, I'm exhausted. I can't do this
anymore. I got sick.
Yeah,
all these things.
It doesn't mesh with my lifestyle. And so I think there's such a big piece of like intentionally figuring out like, what does that look like in my lifestyle?
And I feel like as a society and just as a collective, we've kind of been aware for a couple years now. It's sort of been in the conversation that kind of approach to goal setting really doesn't work. So we're going to share in this episode some things that do work instead. Because it kind of feels like the message is like, well, that doesn't work, so basically don't really do anything instead. And that doesn't feel in alignment either. And
I understand that. And I think I totally get where you're coming at, because I've been really trying to readjust my like daily schedule and these things. And I realized that I am the person, which I'm assuming some of you guys will connect with this, I hate following the rules and following schedules. And so at first I was like, I'm going to build a schedule and this is what my life's going to be like. And then I had blocked it out in hour time slots. And I started realizing, I was like,
How long did that last?
Not long. Okay. So learn from my mistakes. So then I started realizing, all right, like Mondays I do this, Tuesday, Thursdays I do this, Wednesday I do this, and Friday I do this.
I love that.
And they're all kind of different things, and they can all be adjusted for when life happens.
I like that.
And it's like this week, normally on Tuesdays, I would do recordings, but like life got busy, so I ended up doing some on Monday. And so at least I kind of was like, all right, Tuesdays now.
I think it's about giving yourself that ability to kind of flow with the energy too, not just...
But while getting your stuff done.
Yes, because that kind of feels like the like difficult kind of balance to strike, because it's almost like you're either going crazy and you have all these insane goals and you are then going to throw yourself into burnout and
overwhelm and
ruining
your nervous system.
And,
oh my gosh,
yes. Or it's like you're doing nothing and you're just kind of waiting for things to happen.
Yes.
And then that doesn't work really either. And so both of those things don't really lead you to getting the results that you want or really making any positive changes in your life.
And I'm like, I so wholeheartedly agree with that, because it's like one of the things I want to do, right, is like bring in more movement. And at first I was like, I should go to the gym 4 days a week mentally, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, just thinking about it, I was like, that's not going to happen. Like, So then I started thinking, okay, this is where envisioning life is like, you know what I can do? I can go for a walk every day.
Yeah.
Like, that's not something challenging.
And you know what's funny? It's like our mind loves to jump in and be like, well, that's not going to work. What kind of results are you going to get with that? It's a lot, like, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And that is true for every single thing in life.
And so big for this new year. That's the thing we really wanted to share here is it's like, it's great that you have your goals and ambitions, but like, draw it back. Like if if your dream person does go to the gym 5 days a week, how did they begin? They didn't start by just going 5 days a week. They started by going on walks. They started by making different choices.
And they started by making it like enjoyable too.
Yes.
Because if it's not enjoyable and it doesn't bring any lightness into your life, why would you want to even be doing it?
And make it fun. Like say you're going for walks, right? Maybe that's your goal. This is an example, right? Like, go with your spouse at night. Take your dog for a walk when like there's a dog park close. Go with girlfriends. Like, maybe like every Wednesday, you meet up with a girlfriend and go for a walk. Like, make it fun.
Yeah, you want to take like an expansive point of view with all of this. Like, there's so many options to do this in a way that's going to feel really good internally.
And
it's going to feel like
you.
an energetic
Which I think is so important. And I think, coming into the new year, obviously, it's such a big thing also to like reflect on your goals from the previous year, or like what you did. And I think a really big piece of it is like, I honestly solely believe that like you should look back at every month and look at wins that you have, because I think in this
Even
world.
Even if it's really small, it's like you got to start acknowledging positive things that...
It could literally be like, I went swimming. Yeah. I enjoyed it. You know what I mean?
Like, and it was like a vibe.
Yeah. Or like, I hung out with your girlfriend and grabbed coffee. It doesn't have to be like, I bought a house like every month.
Yeah, it doesn't, like, sometimes we think we're only allowed to celebrate these like massive milestones in life, where ironically, you're more likely to have these big milestones if you keep celebrating the little things.
Ones.
Because otherwise you get so kind of like... rejected isn't the right word, but
it's like pessimistic
you're so,
looking at it.
Yeah, and you're so hard on yourself, and you're putting yourself in an energy where you're not even a vibrational match for what you're wanting. So you got to kind of dial it back a little.
And that's where I think you're coming in directly on that is like, I think we think about things like, oh, it was a tough year. But what were those little things? And so my best advice to you is like, go through your calendar, like maybe on your phone, right? Or whatever, and go like week by week and just be like, oh, I forgot this month we took this little trip. We did a day trip up north. We did this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this was such a great year. And like having that reminder.
Because it's so easy to forget all the things you did
too.
It's crazy.
And you're like, oh, this was a really tough month. Oh, I was stressed out about this. But like think about all those little things that you added on. And again, it could just literally like eating dinner with my parents, having a nice, watching a fun movie at home, going to the movie. It could be very small, or going to a park. It doesn't have to be like any monetary things, or it could be accomplishing a goal. So
totally.
I love this.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a quick pause here and go into a little mini weekly reading with Nina, and we will see you guys in a few.
Hello and welcome to your New Year's message here on the Spiritual Lounge podcast. Ooh, okay, we got two. Came right out of the card. So the first is, this is interesting. Okay, you got the resting tree, which is all about patience and stillness. And then you got, weird name, but the prison waif, which is all about self-sabotage, poverty consciousness. This is essentially saying before you step into making all of these big goals, make sure you spend some time with yourself first to get really clear. Courtney and I were just talking about that on this conversation, because sometimes it's really easy to feel pressure to jump into setting a million different goals for yourself. You see people on podcasts, on social media in general, talking about these massive goals that they're setting and how they're executing these and yada, yada, yada. And before you know it, you feel like, oh, maybe I should be doing that too. But so often, that's not necessarily what our souls are calling for and our hearts are calling for. So this is really when you want to tap into your spiritual practice, whether it be listening to a sound healing, or getting a reading done, or just sitting in a moment of stillness and tapping into the frequency and the energy of your heart, because you don't want to be making decisions that are really about self-sabotage, right? Sometimes when we overcommit ourselves and we tap into setting these massive goals and, oh, I'm going to do this, right? Sometimes we take these things on because subconsciously we know they're not going to work out. So it's almost like a little safety mechanism we tap into. So we don't actually have to make those changes because, you know what, I'm going to overcommit myself. It's not going to work out. It's going to be a whole dumpster fire of a thing in a couple weeks. And then I'm just going to continue how I was living. And sometimes that's easier than doing those really small, mindful goals, mindful steps in the right direction of the direction of our heart and our direction of our soul. And that's actually what this new year is calling for us to do. It's about getting still. Maybe for some of you that does mean going out in nature if it's not too cold where you're at. Finding yourself rooted into the strength of the earth and syncing yourself up with that calm, with that solid foundation, and really getting clear on what it is you want, and then making sure that the choices you're making moving forward and the things that you're calling in are in alignment with those things. So that's the message for today. Get really clear about what you want. Maybe take some moments of stillness and make sure that what you're calling in is really from the heart.
Hey guys, we're back. Over the break, we were just talking a little bit more about, coming into this new year, the different things that, we're thinking about and goals and different things. And so I think you want to chat a little bit more about.
Sure, yeah. Something that I'm calling into my life is partnership. So I wanted to share kind of how I'm balancing out finding love with not getting so crazy with it.
Yes.
Just like that balance between taking the practical action steps, but also really being rooted in your own energy and more
kind
of
like
the
that masculine, feminine,
that balance because both kind of need to be present within us to call in things.
Yes.
But you can do it in a way that feels really balanced and feels good and feels in alignment.
Yeah.
So the practical side of dating would be like getting on a dating app.
Yes.
Like just putting yourself out there to be seen.
Yes.
You know?
I love that.
And so that's a practical thing, right? Getting kind of clear on some of the things that you're wanting to.
Yes.
Like you've encouraged me to make a list.
Yes.
Which I'm going to be doing.
So if any of you guys are single, I think my favorite thing to do is like in your notes app, write a list of like what your ideal man is. Like envision what your life would be like. What is this person like bringing to your life, you know?
And see, that's a practical step that's also fun to do.
It is. And you kind of get into like envisioning. And I'm not saying like monetary things or like a house or whatever else, but like, you know, I want someone who makes me laugh, or, you know, I love someone who notices the small details.
Or like this would be the vibe of like our Saturdays together, or like that kind of energy.
Yes, this is what I like to go out and do. And so really thinking, you know, what does it look like for my life? And so I think it's a really fun exercise to kind of, and you can do that in your, like, in not even just for dating, but just like
do that with anything.
Yeah, like, hey, this is what I would love my life to be.
But I feel like that getting clear and like making a couple like practical action steps would definitely be the masculine side of like any kind of resolution or goal setting. And then like the feminine side, in my view, would be keeping yourself grounded and taking really good care of yourself. So I'm doing the practical stuff, and then I'm also really looking after my health. I've kind of upped my own meditation practice too. Isn't it funny? I'm sure some of you can relate to this. It's like, it's pretty challenging to build certain habits.
It is.
And it's so easy to
let them drop
right on out.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm really kind of upping that for myself, like really taking time for myself, making sure I'm not overwhelmed in the holiday season
building with your routines.
Yes, and with work, it's easy to get like energetically a little funky. So I'm really like taking that time to just be in my own energy and just be focusing on calm. And I have a good feeling about these two energies that play. Like we'll see. You'll get updates, of course.
Right? We're like, this
real
is
time.
You're dating.
Yes.
No, but I think it's so important, right? Like, and I think it goes back to, you know, looking at that person's life, the life you want or life you want with somebody, and like building those routines in it. And we were just talking about this when it comes to dating of like, all right, you know, you still need to be grounded in yourself, know who you are, not give up those things. And so it's like, I think we get caught in this trap of, oh my gosh, I'm going to go all in on this, if it's dating or this life. And it's like, but what are the things that are there that support you and guide you and stay there, right? It's like, you still need time with your girlfriends. You still should have an evening routine. Like, we should be like, hey, I'm going to bed. I'm not going to stay up all night for this.
Texting someone.
Yeah, we've all been there, which is so fun. And it's a great,
and
stage.
I feel like boundaries, like they're to also like protect ourselves and our own energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that's super important to kind of look into, and just in general in the new year, you know, it's like, I want to be better at getting up in the morning, like work on your evening routine, getting to bed early, not being
set
in
yourself up for success.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. And those are the things where, you know, people talk about like, oh, I made this massive change. And it's like, because you added all these compounding steps together.
Yeah.
And it's little things that come there, right? And it's like, I want to go to the gym 4 days a week. Maybe I can go for a walk a couple days a week. Like, and then it's like, oh, you know, I'm feeling really good at
building it in a way that's not overwhelming.
And sustainable for your life, right? Like, even when it comes to dating, like, you know, that can be really overwhelming and take over so much if you do it in certain ways. Yeah. But if you're like, hey, I'm busy, but like, hey, I'd love to connect on Friday and whatever, couple connections here and there in between, great. It doesn't have to be every night, every day, 24/7.
Yes. Yeah, it takes over all of your life, and then you find yourself like totally out of balance.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Like, you know, even, you know, figuring out like the lifestyle you want to live is you think like, hey, I'm going to throw myself into this, but what are you losing of yourself? You know, like what are the things that you've done? And so I think, you know, like we were talking about finding that meditation practice, the sound healing, all the different things that help you, you find that you love, like don't lose that. And I think, even like I've been talking to some girlfriends who, you know, have kids and like, yeah, it's really hard to stay on that and to care for myself. And I think there's a piece where, you know, there's different transitional periods in life that it's okay to lose some of these things, and it does happen.
Yes.
But noticing and then figuring out like,
yeah, and it's like okay if you kind of got too far in one direction. You can always just recenter yourself. Yes, and this is why readjust. Like the whole point of this podcast is really about making spirituality like accessible and a part of your life, and
not overwhelming.
Not some big deal. Like our minds love to make it into something like if we want to do this, it has to be this massive production that's so overwhelming and just very unrealistic to actually be able to stick to long term, because life is unpredictable. We go through different things. We're in different energies, and if you can just kind of find something and a way to do it where you still get to be who you are. And you just get to kind of add a little bit of that in there.
I agree with you. I think that's kind of the best way to go about it. So these are our little tips and tricks for the new year and kind of goal setting and envisioning your, you know, dream life.
Your dream life. Yeah. Keep it simple.
Yes. Keep it very simple.
Yeah.
Well, we will pass you off to some mindful minutes for a little sound bath for this new year. We hope you guys have a wonderful New Year's. We're so excited for 2025.
Yay.
And we will see you guys next year.
Wow.
Crazy to say. I know.
I love it.
Yeah. Bye, guys. Bye, guys. Hello, and welcome to this mindful minute. Happy New Year. I'm so excited. We're coming into 2025. Let's take a few moments to do a little meditation, drop into our bodies, and really help us bring in this new year. Let's begin by closing down our eyes, taking a few deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth, and in through your nose and out through your mouth. And last one, in through your nose and out through your mouth. Looking back in 2024, we see how far we've come, all of the journeys that we have taken, all of the wonderful things that have changed in our lives, and all of the beautiful things that we are grateful for. As we reflect on each month, we notice all of the beautiful things that have come to fruition, all of the different wins, all of the times that we've taken care of ourselves or done some sort of self-care. We enjoy the different seasons, and we really think about what we would like to bring in for 2025. Not only just our goals, but really the life we want to live. If we can for a moment, envision yourself at 80 years old. You're in a retirement community. Your body has quite a few aches and pains, but you're still kicking and happy to be moving around. As you sit there as that future version of yourself, think back to what your life was like. Did you spend lots of time with your kids and your grandkids? Did you get outside and enjoy nature? Did you keep up that family tradition? What are your most valuable memories from your life? Now let's drop back in to your body today. What are those things that you want to incorporate more into your daily life? Is it spending more time in nature? Spending time with loved ones? Learning a new skill? Maybe even a career change? Remember how much time you have and those goals and those things and all the moments that matter most to you. That is the life you are striving for. Embrace this year, embrace this moment, and all the beautiful things that are to come.
As we leave behind the year 2024, we leave behind bad habits, shedding who we no longer want to be, to grow into the person we love and want to explore more of. As we come back into the room, please begin to wiggle your fingers and toes. Slowly blink open your eyes and rejoin me in this day. I hope you enjoyed this mindful minute, and I will see you next week. Happy 2025!